It's the end of February, spring is in the air, and you know what that means. It means it's nearly horrible shirt season. But it also means that people are soon going to start thinking about taking holidays. So I thought, what better time to showcase some of my favourite tech and gadgets that I use whilst travelling, and hopefully it might give you some inspiration or make you think about something that you may not have thought of, but could completely revolutionise the way you travel. Now, some of my recommendations are some of these gadgets will be cheap, some of them will be expensive, some will offer you a peace of mind, and some will blow your socks off, but there's one thing each and every single one of them will do: make your travel experiences better. So if you can put up with my t-shirt for the next 20 minutes, I want to start with the most useful thing whilst travelling: your suitcase. Now, normally suitcases are extremely dull and there's very little innovation in this category until now. This is the VLO Case, and it's such a simple idea that you will kick yourself because you didn't think of it first. Inside, there's really nothing to report, although it does have these pretty cool little dividers to help you organise your belongings, and these dividers have little pockets for cables and other gubbins. The magic, however, is underneath the handle. Lifting this handle out, which, as a side note, is extremely long enough that even me at 6'8" finds it comfortable to use. And that's quite a rare thing. But lifting it out reveals a little hidden button. Pressing that and pulling up on the handle does something rather fun. It makes the suitcase bigger. This is a 3-in-1 travel suitcase. At its smallest, 16 inches, it's small enough to fit inside the overhead lockers on a plane, so it should be good for your carry-on luggage, which is about 3 days of clothes, a short weekend away. Then there's 2 further sizes this can extend out to. There's 22-inch, which should be good for up to 7 days of travel, and then there's maximum 26-inch, which can easily take you to over 7 days of clothing. Now, I love this so much for 2 reasons. First is that it takes up less storage in your cupboards when not in use. You can shrink it right down to its smallest size for when you're in the off-travel season, which is fantastic in itself. But the other reason, and the most important reason, is that I can go away for a short weekend, pay for a small case, and then on my way back, expand my luggage, stock up on duty-free whiskey at the airport with all of the free space. Of course, if you didn't want that, you could just use it for souvenirs or whatever, but the fact it's retractable and expandable, it offers unparalleled flexibility. And on the subject of flexibility, despite it being adaptable, it's actually a hard-wearing suitcase, quite capable of withstanding some significant beatings from the Ryanair manhandlers. It's also got 4 360-degree wheels for easy rolling and a TSA standard lock. And it's so simple, so effective, that I've been asking myself where it's been all my life. I'll drop a link below so you can check it out for yourselves, but at the risk of going on and on about how much I love this case, let's move on to my next recommendation. Now, the next item is actually making a second appearance in my recommended tech, because this appeared back in December in my Tech Gifts for Christmas episode, but I promise you this is going to be some of the best money that you can spend in making sure your wallet doesn't go walkabout whilst you're travelling. This is the Rolling Square Air Card. It's essentially a device that works in a very, very similar way to Apple's AirTags. It connects to Apple's Find My network and allows you to track its location, along with setting notifications if it leaves your current area. Now, the best thing about this is that it's super thin and super light. Its dimensions are roughly around the size of a bank card, meaning that it's perfect to slip into your wallet or perhaps your passport sleeve so that you can track your passport and documents and wallet during your travels. Now, this kind of thing is absolutely essential, even if it's just to offer a little bit of a peace of mind. Now, at the moment, it only works on iPhone because it uses the Apple's Find My network, but they're hot on the heels with an Android compatible model too, so watch this space. But I've actually got a discount code for this, and by using the link in the description, you can get the price down to just $31, which is about 24 quid, which is an absolute steal in my opinion for something that offers a fantastic peace of mind whilst traveling. Now, another thing actually that's good for a peace of mind is a unique piece of my smart home that I can actually take with me, and that's the SWITCHBOT portable thermohydrometer. This is another inexpensive little piece of tech that I find not just handy, but also quite interesting. Ultimately, its job is to read the ambient temperature and relative humidity and give you real-time access to those stats through smart alerts and also by checking through the app. It's UV resistant, IP65 waterproof, and has a lanyard style strap. That means you can hang it from your backpack or suitcase, so it's always measuring the climate around you. Now, as well as providing interesting information about your immediate environment, it has some real practical uses too. One thing I'm using it for is to make sure that I can keep whatever room my children are sleeping in on holiday at the right temperature. Babies especially need a watchful eye on the temperature. I mean, studies have shown that thermal stress on babies can increase the risk of SIDS. So in fact, this little device is actually a bit of a lifesaver. And at just 15 quid, it's cheaper than a London priced pint of ale. If you've got kids, especially babies, this is an absolute no-brainer for travel. Now, it wouldn't be a travel list without including my favourite noise-cancelling headphones, the Edifier WH950NBs. These things are some of the best value headphones I've ever tried. They sound warm and rich with good overall clarity, and they're super comfortable to wear for long periods of time without issue. But the most impressive feature is their noise cancellation. It was so good that when we reviewed them, we even took them on a plane just to see how good they were in situations that you'll experience when going on holiday. If you want to check out the review, I'll link it below, but they're absolutely perfect for blocking out the sound of planes, trains, and other low-frequency noises, making your journey just that little bit more relaxing, which is important if you're folded like a pretzel into a Ryanair peasant class seat. But as for styling, they're minimalistic and sleek with some super soft ear cups that you can easily wear for hours without being uncomfortable, which is quite important for long haul flights. And with a battery life of up to 55 hours, it means I could travel to Vegas and then back to the UK twice before these run out of battery. In fact, there's probably enough juice left to get back to Vegas. But if that's not enough, a quick charge of just 10 minutes gives you around 7 hours of playback. They really do have to be some of my favourite headphones, and normally they're around £180, but when I checked, they were actually on offer down to £150, so absolute perfect time to snap these up before you go on holiday. Now, taking a slight detour on physical gadgets, I want to recommend that everyone use a VPN whilst travelling, and before. And my choice of cocktail at the moment is Ivacy VPN. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably sick to the teeth of hearing about VPNs, what with all the ads that come up. But I'm one of those people that genuinely makes use of one whilst travelling, and even before travelling. So hear me out for a second on this one. The main reason I use a VPN whilst travelling is to remove any geo restrictions based on where I am in the world. By doing that, I'm able to view content from anywhere in the world, but I'm also able to remove any geo and device related bias as well. Now, it's not really a well-known fact, but if you try and book places like hotels or flights from certain devices and in certain locations, you'll actually be charged more. Let's say I was looking at hotels in Thailand on an iPad in the UK without a VPN. The price would be a lot higher than people using a cheap tablet browsing somewhere like North Korea, if they have access to the internet, that is. Shout out in the comments anyone watching from North Korea. But anyway, using a VPN gets rid of these geo and device-based biases and opens you up to the best possible pricing across the board. Seriously, go and take a look at this yourself. When you delve into it, it's quite scary. It's one of those things that more people should know about, but either don't or turn a blind eye to. But the price difference can be hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So next time you think about going on holiday or traveling, or even whilst you're traveling, try using a VPN to make the hotel think you're in that country, and you'll see a price difference straight away. But this isn't the only reason. Using a VPN is way more secure when using public networks, which you probably do a lot of whilst traveling. It just gives you back your privacy, stopping networks from being able to track what you're doing, and puts a roadblock for anyone trying to do anything malicious on your device. And what's not to like about that? Privacy tends to be my go-to simply because they offer one of the best values for VPNs that you can subscribe to, and they do this on a month-to-month basis, which is around $10, but you can actually subscribe to their 5-year plan, which totals just $70 and works out at just over $1 a month, which is unbeatable value. And I guarantee you'll make that back just by using it for bookings whilst travelling, so I'll link below to that offer. Now, we've had some personal audio already with the Edifier headphones, but what if you're on the way to Magaluf or Ibiza and wanted to bring the party with you, so to speak? I mean, let's face it, I'm now of an age where I won't ever be going to either of those places ever again. I mean, just saying their names gives me a hangover, but one of the best small portable speakers that you can buy right now, I think, is the Tribit Stormbox Flow. But before I tell you about that, I realised I've been saying their name completely wrong for years. I've always been a huge fan of Tribit's portable offerings, and I've been covering them for years in fact. One of my earliest reviews took a look at their Stormbox, which was then called the Max Boom, and I took that for a little swim in the sea, but it turns out their name isn't actually pronounced Tribit, it's Treebeat, because their slogan is treat yourself to a better beat. Treatbeat. Treebeat. Anyway, the Stormbox Flow is my recommendation for travelling, as in terms of design, it's got a pretty slim profile which makes it easier to pack and takes up less room than other options. It's also got an included lanyard to hang off your bag if you prefer, and it has a 24-hour battery life with the Treebeat Signature X-Bass mode on, which you'll definitely want on because it sounds excellent. This is what the Treebeat Stormbox Flow sounds like with the X-Bass off. And this is what it sounds like with the X-Bass on. I think it makes a big difference and certainly adds to the punch and warmth, making it suit my personal preference in sound profile. But if warmth isn't your cup of tea, you can use the Treebeat app to change the EQ to suit your own preference in sound too. Oh, and if you have two of these, you can actually pair them up together. Lastly, it's IP67, which means it can be submerged in water and still work. An important spec, especially for poolside parties, if you're renting something like a villa. Oh, and as a little sweetener, it can actually give charge to your phone if it's got over 50% battery, which is handy for tight spots if your phone runs out of charge. At just £80 RRP, it's excellent value. Although again, when I checked, this was at a discount too, down to a price that I thought was an absolute bargain, especially given that it can be used to charge your phone too. But if that's not good enough for charging your phone and you do need a device to charge all of your devices fully, properly and incredibly well, then you've got to get the Zendure Super Tank portable battery. But this is a bit of an odd one because it's very, very difficult to get hold of one of these. It seems like Zendure have moved away in recent years from portable batteries to large generator style ones, which is a crying shame because this has to be one of my favourite portable batteries. And that's because my original one survived all over the world with me, and that's even after me driving over it in one of my very earliest reviews on the channel. I loved it that much that I actually bought the upgraded version last year, which has USB-C ports and faster charging options for things like laptops with its 20,000 mAh capacity. Now I actually use it as part of my portable studio kit, and I use it to charge up things like camera batteries whilst filming, but as I said, it would appear that at the moment it's rarer than hen's teeth, and where you can find it, it's certainly not cheap either. But I've dropped a link below to one of the last places you can find it new, but if you're lucky, you may be able to pick one up secondhand on something like eBay. Now, another device that can also be used as a battery is specifically if you're visiting to somewhere cold, the Ukupa or Okupa Union 5S hand warmer. This thing is an absolute game changer if you're thinking of going anywhere with lots of snow or ice. It's effectively a mobile battery that you can charge your devices from with a USB slot on top. However, if you click it into its outer sleeve and press the button on top, This turns on heating elements inside the sleeve that's designed to warm your hand up when you're holding it. On the highest setting as well, it can get bloody hot, but honestly, I found this device invaluable. And I don't just use it when travelling either. I often take it when I go shooting, and it keeps my hands warm whilst others are taking their shots. So this is one thing that's good for both home and travel. And another good home and travel piece, although on the opposite side of the temperature spectrum, is the Torres Coolify neck fans. Now at first I completely laughed at the idea. I thought this was going to be a bit gimmicky, but Jesus, have I changed my mind about these things. The Torres Coolify range is the specific devices I recommend when it comes to personal fans, in part because it has a few different varying levels of fan speed that blows directly onto your face, but also because it has these ceramic plates that's super cool, and when pressed against your neck, it feels genuinely like you're rubbing ice cubes on your skin. Honestly, it sounds too good to be true, but believe me that everyone who has tried mine when I've been wearing it has instantly become a convert. I don't know how they've done it, but it would seem that the team over at Torres may indeed be wizards, because it's bloody magical. And if you're going to any country that is particularly warm, take one of these and I promise you that your family will be fighting over your corpse for it. But on a side note, it can also heat too, so actually it could be suitable for colder climates. However, I haven't really used it for that feature. Oh, and the one that I've got currently, the 2S, has been succeeded by the 3, which looks even more insane. But I've yet to try that one out as well. So if you do get one, the 3 that is, do a little review in the comments for me and let me know how it goes. But in terms of price, they aren't cheap at $199. But for anyone who hates being hot and humid in hot and humid environments, then mark my words, it is the best $199 you will ever spend. But it's time for the very last recommendation on today's list, and that is the Dusk sunglasses by Ampere. These things are peak magic tech, and there's a few different versions of them available, but every single model has electrochromic lenses. Now at the moment, as you can see, they've got a very high level of tint. Watch what happens when I press this little button here. Absolute bloody witchcraft. This basically applies a small amount of current to the lenses and then darken or lighten dependent on the current. Or it could be voodoo magic, I'm not sure. Either way, they come with a connected app that lets you change the tint manually between the entire range, or you can press the button on the side of the glasses to change between a few different preset levels like this. Now their newest version actually has an inbuilt light sensor that will read the environment and change to suit, which is a little bit better. And some of the models also have audio connectivity so you can listen to music and take calls directly through the glasses. Sure, you can get photochromic lenses which do the same thing, but they do take a while to adjust to the ambient light. If you've ever used that type of lens, walking inside during a very bright and sunny day is horrible. Leaving your sunglasses on, you might as well be blind for 2 to 3 minutes whilst you wait for the lenses to clear. These, the Dusk, however, are instantaneous, and to me it represents some of the most ingenious technology in sunglasses, probably since photochromic lenses were invented. They are seriously cool. They do start at $199, but for the technologically minded of us out there, this is just one of those incredibly cool gadgets that's make people's heads turn and go, wow, look at that. And in this day and age, that's a pretty rare feeling. But with that, that ends my top 10 recommendations for travel gadgets this year. Buy them all, you'll be the Thanos of Butlins. But if you do want to check out any of the recommendations, do drop down into the description and head over to the links. They're all worth every single penny, and hopefully some of my recommendations will help you guys out on your travels this year too. And if they do, let me know which of these you take on holiday in the comments below. But other than that, guys, I will see you back for another episode of STU'S Reviews soon. Can't go back in the house wearing this shirt though. I'm going to have to change this so the wife doesn't see me.